Hello and welcome back to my channel. In today's review we're going to be taking a look at the brand new Transformers Studio Series World War II Bumblebee. As you can see, I've also got Studio Series Sideswipe as well as Studio Series Barricade, so please subscribe to keep up to date with their reviews in the next coming days. As always with these Studio Series figures, I'm going to be taking a quick look at Bumblebee's packaging, his backdrop, and then I'll take a detailed look at the figure himself. So starting off with the packaging, as you can see, you have a really nice CG render of the World War II Bumblebee wielding his hammer. It states he is the World War II Bumblebees from Transformers The Last Night. Here's a Hasbro and Takara Tomy collaboration. The side of the packaging has a larger CGI render of Bumblebee looking really cool. The back of the packaging showcases the figure in his robot mode, his vehicle mode, states how many steps he transforms from, as well as some of the other figures in the assortment. It also gives you a brief bio on this version of Bumblebee, stating Bumblebee infiltrates an enemy stronghold, unleashing the war machine within, which was definitely what we saw in that flashback scene in The Last Night. The other side of the packaging has a close-up image of Bumblebee's face, Studio Series figure number 26, and that he is a deluxe class figure. Now, as with all of these Studio Series figures, here is Bumblebee's backdrop. As you can see, it's very reminiscent of that scene that we saw in The Last Night. You've got a lot of different explosions, which was much like we saw in that very short but cool scene. As with all these Studio Series figures, you can place the figure onto the display in order to give the figure a more dynamic display option. Here we have the figure in his robot mode as he comes packaged. Now this is a really detailed looking version of Bumblebee. It was one of my most highly anticipated figures, as I just wasn't expecting Hasbro to produce this figure as quickly as they did. This is actually wave 5 of the deluxe class figures, so to get this figure in wave 5 was a huge surprise to me. However, despite the awesome looking aspect of the figure, he does have his downsides, specifically the ginormous backpack and loose joints that I will get into in just a bit. Starting off with accessories, Bumblebee includes 2 accessories, the first of which is this multi-barreled kind of shotgun which we see him use in The Last Night. As you can see, it has been detailed really nicely and given this silver paint application around the barrel section in order to bring out some of the less defined sculpt work. But this is definitely a really nice piece and does just insert into the figure's hand. This is actually extremely accurate to the weapon that we see Bumblebee use in the movie. My only gripe with it is that I wish he came with 2, as in the movie he was actually seen sporting 2 of these weapons. The next of his accessories is Bumblebee's infamous warhammer that he used throughout the entirety of Transformers The Last Night. This is a really faithful representation of that hammer that we see him use in the World War II scene, as well as against Nemesis Prime in the kind of final battle. The detail here is really nice. As you can see, it has been molded in this almost gunmetal metallic like plastic. There are unfortunately no paint applications, so there is no yellow on the handle, much like was seen in the movie, but nonetheless it's definitely a really nice sculpt, and this does actually double as the main turret in the vehicle mode, so I'm definitely very surprised in how Hasbro and Takara have engineered the weapons into the vehicle mode. So overall this is a really nice looking accessory. Now, starting off with details on the figure, he does have a fantastic looking head sculpt. As you can see, it has been sculpted really nicely. He does have a very small Autobot insignia printed on his crest, which is a nice attention to detail. As you can see, his head has got some gunmetal aspects to break up this kind of green metallic plastic that they've used throughout the figure. The blue optics definitely do help to set them apart from the rest of the figure, just to make it look as if though he is alive. As you can see, the whole mouthpiece too has been detailed and sculpted impeccably well, with a very nice gunmetal grey paint application applied over the top. This torso section is actually one of my favourites. It's really jam-packed with detail. As you can see, you've got the headlights at the top as well, with some smaller details and tampos printed throughout. Gunmetal section in the center of his chest. Moving down, you've got some more detail. Some of it is unpainted, but nonetheless the detail has not been skimped out on. The arms are really detailed as well, so Hasbro and Takara have just really done their best to make this figure as detailed as possibly can be. Moving down to the legs, it does get fairly basic in design here, and there isn't much detail. As you can see on the upper thigh sections, he does have some darker green armored plating painted on the thigh section with the number 10. Moving down to the shins and the feet, there is no paint application whatsoever, and as you can see, they are actually quite clunky. As you can see, he does have some nice detailing on some different parts of his legs in order to make him look slightly more faithful to what we see in the movie, but however, it's definitely quite lackluster. I do wish that they would have perhaps done some dry brushing on these parts to pick out some of the detail. And I cannot do my review on this figure without talking about the horrendous kibble that this figure entails. As you can see, his entire vehicle mode is just hanging on the back, doesn't even lock into place, it just literally just sit there, and even the legs are just full of vehicle mode parts, which is such a shame, as from the front this figure looks really detailed. However, from a side angle or from the back, he just looks really shell former like. He does actually have quite an interesting, while simple transformation. He isn't as shell formery as I initially expected, but nonetheless I do wish that they did distribute these parts throughout the figure in order to minimize the backpack. Turning to articulation on the figure, despite the backpack he is not hindered. The head is on a ball joint, so it can look up that far, as well as down and side to side, and also left to right. The arms are on a ball joint, so they can too lift upwards as well as hinge out to the sides, just like so. There is a rotation just above the elbow section, which does 360, as well as a hinge at the elbow, which is extremely stiff. Unfortunately, there is no form of waist articulation. However, the legs are fairly detailed. They do kick outwards that far, back that far. If you move the backpack, they will kick further backwards. Out to the sides, they can also swivel just like so. There is a 90-degree bend at the knee, which surprisingly isn't compromised by this back kibble here. And the feet do have a slight pivot, however that is mainly due to transformation. This then brings me on to my next problem with this figure, the loose joints. As you can see, the legs really do just flop around, nothing holds them up. They're incredibly loose. It is something that I could fix, but for a figure that costs anywhere between £20 to £25, I do wish that this was something that Hasbro would address and definitely improve upon in future releases. Quickly turning to some Studio Series size comparisons, here is the World War II Bumblebee compared next to the Studio Series Volkswagen Bumblebee, as well as the 1977 Camaro. As you can see, he is actually smaller than the 1977 Camaro Bumblebee, just comparing them just like so. As you can see, he is definitely a smidge taller than this version at the head, and if you count these wing sections, he is much taller. He is, however, slightly taller than the Volkswagen Bumblebee, as he really should be. And when comparing him to the Voyager class Optimus Prime, he is definitely significantly smaller, as he should be. So he's definitely a fairly nice Deluxe class scaled figure. Another size comparison that I want to show off is between Studio Series World War II Bumblebee and the Transformers The Last Knight Deluxe class Bumblebee. As you can see, these two are from the same movie and are supposed to be in similar scale to one another, but this Bumblebee is significantly smaller, probably because this figure isn't designed to be in scale with this. Another comparison that I wanted to do is between the two hammers, this one being from the movie The Best Warhammer Bumblebee, and this one being from the World War II Studio Series one. As you can see, the World War II Studio Series Bumblebee's hammer is significantly smaller than this one and significantly slimmer, which is actually accurate to the movie, as in the film it was a lot slimmer. However, I do prefer the paint applications and the kind of grey that they've used on this. It does definitely look a lot more movie accurate. However, I do think that this Studio Series Bumblebee's hammer has a lot more detail packed in it than this version. So there you have it. That is all of my thoughts on the Studio Series World War II Bumblebee in his robot mode. Let's transform him into his vehicle mode. Now, to start off with, what you actually are going to want to do is take this whole section here downwards, just like so. Pull it all the way down so that the head does tuck away, just like that. Disengage the arms by just unlocking them, just like so. Lift this entire back section up and loosen these wheel pieces at the back. There is not that much clearance, so it can be quite difficult to just get your hands in there and rotate them like so. You're then going to want to take this whole section here and swivel it around, trying to avoid bumping into any of this kibble at the top. So just rotate them down just like that. What you're then going to want to do is come to this section here and just open them out just like that, and then collapse them down so that they are more or less flush against this section here. We're then going to want to rotate this section around and just take these pieces here and just lift those upwards just like that. This will then allow us to come in here and flick these wheel sections up like so. Repeat the same process on this side. Flick these wheels out and then just fold these toes in and sit them flush just like this, and tab them together on the underside as well. With the front section now completely tabbed in, you're going to want to turn your attention to the arms. So just bring this section in like so and rotate it around, and then fold the hand up and in. You're then going to want to take this section and rotate it so that the back of the hand is facing the side, just like this. And you will see that there is a tab section here that will actually tab into here. So you just want to line those sections up and snap it into place just like so. Repeat the same process on this side. So rotate this around, fold up the hand, take the forearm section and rotate it out just like so. And it can be quite difficult, but you just want to line up this section. This side is actually a lot more tricky than the other side for me for some reason. But there you go, I do have that plugged in. As you can see, we're now going to turn our attention to this section, so just fold these pieces out just like that. And now here, quickly, I'm going to show you there are some tabs on the inside of here that when you push down will actually tab into the slots here. So you just want to line these up and pull this section down. And just try your best to line everything upwards and in. The plastic is fairly soft, so you can apply a reasonable amount of force, but obviously not too much, as I'm not sure how much pressure this figure can probably take. And then you just want to take these tabs here and make sure that they're slid under, just like so. Come around to the back section now, and we're going to want to flip this section around. And as you can see, there are some tabs here and here that will plug into the slots on the inside of the wheels. So just line those up as well. And now finally we turn to this top section. Now, before we do this, we're going to want to take the hammer and bend it just like so, so that the hole is at the bottom, so you can plug it in just like this. So plug this in, and then what we are going to want to do is rotate this whole section around. And as you can see, this will line up with this. So just get that aligned. You can take some finagling to get that in, but as you can see, it's definitely possible. And then take his barreled weapon. As you can see, this does tend to pop out quite a lot, and due to the softer plastic, the tabs haven't got that much to grip on. But try and get it as flush as you can. Take the gun and plug it into this section at the top. And there we have Bumblebee in his very inaccurate but still cool vehicle mode. Now, as you could probably tell from that transformation segment, the transformation is fairly straightforward and simple in its engineering process. However, due to the cheaply made plastic, the tabs do not lock in as well as they really should. As you can see, I still can't get this to sit completely flush. It just keeps lifting up, and it's not a clearance issue with the hammer, as I have double checked. Now, this vehicle mode is completely inaccurate to the vehicle mode that we saw Bumblebee obtain in The Last Knight. However, nonetheless, it still does evoke the presence of a World War II vehicle. So I am definitely pleased to see that Hasbro have gone with some form of accuracy in keeping with the era that scene was set in. My theory behind why they didn't make the accurate vehicle mode was probably something to do with licensing agreements, as that vehicle is extremely old. I doubt very much they could have got the license for it, so it was just easier to go with this option. And personally, considering how accurate the front of the robot mode is, I don't necessarily think that this is a bad design choice. Now, in this mode, the paint is very lackluster. As you can see, you just got a 281 stamp on the front. The headlights are picked out in a silver paint, and you have a 52 mark on the front as well. You can also pick out some details such as the grille, also the little peeker window where the man would sit in and fire the turret. You can also see that it's been picked out in some nice detailing, as well as the door. And turning the figure around, as you can see, there's still some nice detailing. So there isn't much in terms of paint. Perhaps a dry brush over the base colour of the figure would have given it a more war-torn look, but nonetheless, it is still a fairly nice looking vehicle mode. Now, it does roll really freely, which I'm definitely surprised to see considering how cheaply made the plastic is. So overall, I am pleased with this vehicle mode. However, definitely not thrilled, but I can definitely see kids having a lot of fun with this, especially as it is a major departure from what they will be expecting Bumblebee to look like. Now, for a quick size comparison, here is the World War II Studio Series Bumblebee next to the Retro Rock Bumblebee. As you can see, this is just the SSO1 repainted, and he is a fairly decent deluxe class size. As you can see, he is quite a bit smaller than the original SS Bumblebee. As you can see, the SS Bumblebee is about this much bigger than this one. So still in keeping with deluxe class scale, and I do think that it is definitely a nice size. So there you have it. That is my review on the Transformers Studio Series World War II Deluxe Class Bumblebee. Personally, I do definitely recommend it, especially if you are a completionist. It is definitely a very unique design of Bumblebee, as usually we're used to seeing him in the more yellow traditional colour scheme. Here he's been given a more dark gunmetal type of green in order to evoke the war aesthetic that they were going for in the movie, and I definitely think it works extremely well for the robot mode. The transformation is a lot simpler than some of the other Studio Series figures, but is still quite fun to go through. And although the vehicle mode is extremely inaccurate to what we see in the movie, I do probably believe that is down to licensing agreements. I do think that it is definitely a nice step in for the vehicle mode, and definitely does evoke the presence of a World War II vehicle. I hope that you enjoyed this review. If you did, please let me know down in the comment section below. I also have Studio Series Sideswipe and Barricade, whose reviews will be up in the next few days, so please stay tuned for them. Thanks for watching.